Well, welcome everyone to another edition of Wise Women Weekly. I am one of your co-hosts, Monty Patterson, coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio, with my beautiful co-host, Robin Blank Mascari, and the incredible, amazing Andrea Waltz. Yes, we told you she was going to be here. She's here. So exciting. So the co-author, I should say, of Go for No. But we come here every single Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, offering you a free space that is here to support you and help you build an incredible organization in this networking profession. Our heart is to serve all of you because all of us came here because we wanted to live incredible lives, we wanted to design our lives, we wanted to have freedom, but we wanted to have techniques on how to do those things. And so since Robin and I have gained a good amount of success in this space, we wanted to come together and share things with you guys from the softer side. So if this is your first time with us, this is who we are. We want to welcome you. And if you're returning, thank you for your support. Welcome again to another edition of Wise Women Weekly. We're so excited you're here. Robin, do you want to share anything?
I love when you do the welcome, Monty. You do such a great job. It is truly an honor to work with Monty, and we just are having such a good time sharing the wisdom of so many people that have made a difference in our careers and want to have you have an easier path maybe than some other people have by sharing these wonderful resources. So let's jump in and get started, because today is something I've looked forward to a very, very, very long time, and I'm going to preface this with the very first time I met Andrea, our guest today, was many years ago. I don't even remember how many. It was at least 6 or 7. She was living in the Northwest, so was I, and she came up to speak for our Direct Selling Women's Alliance monthly event, and the topic was called Go for No. And I had been teaching something called Enlightened Leadership and Appreciative Inquiry and Focus on What You Want More Of, and I'm going, I don't want more no. And I didn't know what I didn't know at that time, but I was willing and open, and that's what I invite everyone to be, is always be open, because you never know where the treasures are going to come from that are going to change your life. And after I heard Andrea and her partner Richard, my life changed. So just a little bit about Andrea. She is the co-author of Go for No. Yes is the destination, no is how you get there. And along with her husband, they've written 8 books. They've spoken to tens of thousands, probably more than that, of people. They've got a documentary. And their mission is to liberate people from fears of failure and rejection, and literally creating a new paradigm and a relationship with this word no, because that shift will change your life. And the distinction between the people that are most successful in any field and those that aren't are they've heard no more often. And so it is my pleasure to have our special guest today, Andrea Waltz. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you so much. It is so great to be with both of you.
Well, we're thrilled about it. And I want to get started, Andrea, because this is a unique perspective, and this work, as we were talking earlier, has spread throughout our networking profession as one of the most powerful resources and tools for people in our profession. And so could you help us and start out with, how did you come up with this, and what's the origin of Courage Crafters and Go for No, and why did you decide to, bring this message to the world?
Absolutely. Well, so backing up, my husband and business partner and co-author, Richard, and I met at Lens Crafters, and he told me the Go for No story. He told me this little story that happened to him that changed his career, ended up getting him promoted in sales positions, moving into training, and ending up to where we met. And I thought he was very bright and smart, and so he tells me this story. Yeah, cute. He tells me this Go for No story, and I realized in that moment that I didn't like hearing the word no. And the story that he told me fundamentally was how he was working at a men's clothing store. This had been years earlier. The district manager had come in to observe and make sure everybody was doing their jobs. Richard ends up with this great sale, $1,100. And he ends up with this great sale, And the district manager, a gentleman named Harold, said, Richard, that was a great sale, but out of curiosity, what did that customer say no to? And Richard realized in that moment that the customer hadn't said no to anything. Everything that man, had looked at and Richard had showed him, he purchased. And then Harold asked Richard the really important question. He said, then if he never said no to anything during this great sale you had, how did you know he was done? And in that moment, Richard had the epiphany. He realized that he let, the amount of money that this person had spent dictate when he ended that sale, that he didn't like hearing no. And this gentleman, who really was a great leader, if you think about it, great leaders sometimes have to pull people aside and tell the truth and be sometimes really in your face. And he said, your fear of the word no is going to kill you, but I think you could be one of the great ones if you would just learn to go for no. So this situation happens. It changes Richard's life. He teaches it for years and years. He ends up telling it to me, and we decide that going for no and hearing more no's requires a tremendous amount of courage. So we decide to launch Courage Crafters, and we're teaching all kinds of things, but in part, really our main message is this whole go for no philosophy, and how it can be applied to virtually every situation in business and in life, but it all comes really down to having the courage to ask, fundamentally. Ask for the business, ask for what you want, on and on and on. It always comes down to asking.
Wow. And I think in life, if more people realize that is one of the key ingredients, it'll make a huge difference in results that we have in every dimension, whether it's, like you said, it's applicable everywhere. So our relationships, we need to ask, for the sale. That's such a big one for people. So courage, courage, courage. Hey, Moni, what do you want to say to that?
I love that because I talk a lot about that, because when I first started, I didn't have a lot of courage. I think I just did it, but I wasn't sure, that I was doing it right. I just did it the way I wanted to do it. But then as time went on, I started being, getting a little bit nervous about hearing the word no. And in my very, very early days, I used to think it had something to do with the business, or maybe the profession wasn't for me. I just didn't know that it was okay to hear that word. And I had one of my mentors said to me, he said, you don't get what you deserve in life, you get what you ask for. And he said, and you can also, and then he said, in the same way, you also get what you negotiate. And that taught me a lot, because for so many times I hadn't been willing to ask for things, because sometimes we make up our minds, of what people will say and what they're going to do, and we'll already answer it for them. And so it was so liberating to not give people their answer for them. And this is not just for networking. This is, for life. I used to do that, it's with a lot of things, even when it came, as a little kid asking for a new toy, sometimes the answer was no, but guess what? Sometimes it was yes. And so I teach that same principle to my children. So I think that is awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, Andrea, you talk in the book a lot about failure and its relationship to success. Why? Tell us more about that.
Okay, right. So there is this whole idea underlying the Go for No philosophy of not wanting to fail, not wanting to look like, really not wanting to embarrass yourself, not wanting to, feel stupid or whatever. And a lot of people, when they get no, they see that as a failure. And so we're, in part, reprogramming how people view failure and success. And what we're trying to do is actually change people's model of how they view it. So in the book, we actually outline a very simple model. We say the old model is you're in the middle. Failure is on one side, success is on the other, and you're acting like it's a choice. I'm gonna succeed or I'm gonna fail. The new model is you are on one end, the failure, the rejection, the hearing no is in the middle, the success and the yeses are on the other side. So one of the things that we say is there's no way to get all of those yeses and to reach the level of success that you're wanting in your business, in your life, without hearing those no's. It's just an impossibility, and it's just the reality. So to me, and I love Robin's introduction about how she first took our message. There's a couple things I love about it. One, I love that we changed her mind. I love that she was open-minded. That's one of the great things about Robin is she's just one of these people that she's a sponge. She didn't judge. It's one of the things that made me fall in love with her. She didn't judge and say, she didn't cross her arms and say, I'm not gonna listen to this. I'm curious. I want to listen. I want to learn. And so that's why we've had such a fun relationship all these years, is that we had that. We started off with, her kind of going, what? This makes no sense. So what we're doing really is we're taking the reality of the rejection out there, but we're having people think positively about it and in an empowering way with a reality. It's one thing to try to say, hey, rejection doesn't exist, it's all in your mind. And to me, when someone tells me stuff that I know is a reality, I say, okay, so what, I'm crazy? I'm the only one? What are you saying? No, we say the no's are out there, and some people are going to turn you down, and even your friends and family might say, what are you doing? And you're crazy, and oh, I'm not doing that, and I'm not trying that, and I'm not helping you. So that is out there. Now, how you choose to interpret that and how you choose to feel about that, you can turn that around and be positive. That can be very empowering for you. And so instead of setting you on this path of, oh my gosh, I made the wrong decision, everybody's turning me down, it's, no, this is the reality of the situation, but that doesn't have to dictate your future. That's just the reality of the situation. So that failure success model is so important to help people understand that, everybody goes through that. It's just part of the process. How many no's will you get? We don't know. How many tries, how many times will you fail over and over? We don't know. In our business, Richard and I, we've had great successes, we've had spectacular failures, and everything in between, and I think everybody does. So in this business, really reprogramming how you think about those no's is so important. It's really the foundation that we build on so that people understand when they get a no, it's not, oh, wow, hit the bricks and quit. It's, oh, that's right, they told me this would happen. It's part of the process, and I can use this as motivation to continue, really.
Wow. Love it. And in our business, a lot of people have a hard time with the word sales because they don't like to be rejected, because they're taking rejection personally. And it sounds like, your work has done your work has done a miraculous job, I believe, of helping people make that shift, that reprogramming, that to not take no personally. Why are people afraid of rejection and afraid of the word no? What have you learned about that? And because it's that shift is so tremendous and so life-changing. I mean, like what you said, Andrea, about me, and it's so. Since I met Andrea and since I heard this message, I can't not share her. And I've had the privilege of interviewing her several times in several different programs and have been honored to share this message, because I know if people embrace this message, their lives will get easier and better. And so it's really, how do people make that shift of not taking it personally and realizing that it's part of the journey to yes?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting. First of all, I have learned so much teaching this to different people and talking to people and hearing feedback and everything, and it's fascinating to me where people fall in terms of kind of almost like three categories. There's some people who hear the message and they say, oh, I get it. Get no more often. I'm gonna go out and get 1,000 no's this week, which to me is like, oh my gosh, this person's crazy, right? But they do it. They just run with it, and then that's maybe 20% of the people, maybe less. Then the majority of people are kind of like, I get it, but I still don't like how it feels. I do still take it personally. I have some fear and anxiety around it for one reason or another. Now, those reasons vary, and sometimes it's worth going deeper with those reasons. Sometimes it's literally just, biology. It's not, it's not wanting to offend a family member. It's not wanting to be isolated, rejected, literally kicked out of the tribe, if you will, or just different things about, people's relationships, really. And then you have the final group who have more psychology underneath. Maybe they had a bad experience where they were rejected a long time ago. They have issues with, like me, pathological people pleaser, right? Always wanting people to like them. And this is kind of where an interesting distinction comes in. You both with kind of the softer side. I think there's a tendency to think that as women, if we to enhance our softer side, to be feminine, to be all these things, that somehow that doesn't mean we can't be assertive. And so Go for No is all about being assertive and asking and building those relationships, not being pushy and aggressive. And in fact, what I have found teaching this is, if you are only going for yes, that's where you have the opportunity to be pushy and aggressive and not allow your softer side to come out. When you go for no, you can really maintain that softer side. So the last little group of people, just to kind of wrap up the take it personally, do really have those issues of pleasing other people, deep-seated fears of failure, perfectionistic tendencies, not wanting to fail, not wanting, everything's got to be perfect. Indecisiveness. It's kind of this whole package. And so those are the people that takes longer to get on the Go for No bandwagon. So I really see a wide spectrum, and it's kind of interesting to, when people listen and read the things that we've created, they have to kind of take it and see where they are and analyze, where am I when I hear a no? What happens in my mind? What do I do? And then can I start implementing this process, or do I need to even work on myself further? Am I trying to please other people too much? Am I trying too hard do I care too much about what other people think? So it's an interesting dynamic, and of course, everybody's different, so I've got to let other people figure out that for themselves.
Wow.
That's awesome.
You want to go, Moni?
Yeah, I had a thought. Thank you, Robin. You said when you go for no, you can maintain the softer side. And what that kind of made me think about was the fact that things that Robin and I have talked about before, by allowing people their space, understanding their timing, being able to nurture the relationship, to say, you know what, it's okay. There's not an attachment to, on whether or not we can be friends, or as I like to say, a bridge builder, or whether or not you say yes or no to the business. We're sharing this information. And I think that what you said there really made me think a lot about what we talk about here a lot on Wise Women Weekly, and that's connection, and about being okay with the connection. So even if it is no, that doesn't mean that it's that you're breaking the connection. So I love the way you shared that, because I don't think that the softer side is necessarily about being feminine per se, because we do have men that watch, but I do think that it is really more about creating the space for comfort and for allowing people to, to be able to make the decision in the timing that's right for them. And so I love the way you shared that.
Thank you. Robin, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I really enjoyed the way you shared that different people have different relationships with the word no. And sometimes, we're not trained psychologists in this business model. We present what we know works, and some people choose to jump in and some don't, and some people do need some personal, deeper work, and I think that's an important piece to address and have people find professional help. But another piece that I quote you on regularly is, the average person doesn't say yes for a sale for how many times, Andrea? What are those statistics? Do you have them?
Right. It's like 44% say no, and I'm going to screw it all up. Rich is the numbers person. It's like 42. Actually, what's funny is I'm getting this all screwed up. Salespeople usually stop after, 44% of all salespeople give up after they hear one no. That's what it is. 44% give up after hearing one no. It's like 22% more give up after the second no. it gets to about 4 times, 92% of the people give up, but normally it takes people, about 5 times to finally say yes to something, to finally decide it's for them. And I love what Mani said about giving people space. And that's really a go for no philosophy, because when you're just going for yes, it's me, 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 now, 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 I want to hear from you now. And when we're committed to a particular business, we're going to be in it for the long haul, we don't need to have that positioning. I read somewhere, I think I read it on Facebook, someone commented that the person prospecting her clearly wasn't listening to her because they were following up, and she had told this person that she was at a hospital visiting, there was some tragedy, some sick relative or something, and this person literally was prospecting her and just totally ignored the fact that she was at this hospital visiting someone. And that's, to me, again, that's go for yes. It's pay attention and build that relationship with that person, and use that opportunity to build that connection and say, wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. Okay, well, let me give you a couple weeks and I'll check in when everything is calmed down and hopefully things are resolved. That is a go for no philosophy. It's not about badgering people, beating people down. It is creating that connection. You just have to use it in that right way. I mean, for sure, people can use it as a tool for evil, but we don't, that's not what we teach.
Right. So it is so much about, and in our profession we hear no can mean not yet or not now, and being respectful, saying, would it be okay if I stay in touch with you? When something new comes out, or maybe it'll be a better time, or maybe things in your life have changed. And getting permission, and like Mani said, we are in the relationship business, and that's just, that story about the person in the hospital is so sad, and that's unfortunately what gives so many people in our business model a bad perception, or whatever that may be, that people are not being respectful about themselves. And go for no is just really honoring where people are and not being attached, because it's so powerful. And years ago I worked with Michael Gerber. I don't know if you guys know Michael Gerber. He wrote the E-Myth, and we had to make 100 cold calls a day. 100 a day. And when we made those calls, we had to do our numbers. And I think that probably made a huge impact on me getting, I don't know if the word is more courageous or less attached or less emotionally involved to know, because I learned my numbers. And a lot of people don't understand the numbers. So Andrea, do you guys talk much to people about knowing their conversions and knowing their numbers?
Yeah, we talk to so many different people, but so there's not one rule or set of statistics that we give out, but certainly you can kind of reverse engineer it, if you will. So you can figure out, well, based on how many yeses I want, here's about, on average, how many no's I need to get on average. And if you want to increase those yeses, then obviously you're going to need to increase your no's. And that kind of goes to this, thing that we teach, where we teach people to set no goals, a goal for the number of no's they're going to get. And oftentimes the way to set that goal is to reverse engineer and figure out, well, how many yeses do you need? So I'm going to set a goal for, if it takes 10 calls to close one, then I'm going to go for, 10 or maybe even 20 no's to make that happen. And I think that could be really effective. And I think these days, it can be a challenge, actually, to get to those no's, because people tell me all the time, I can't, it's really hard to reach people. I don't talk to very many people. So it's interesting watching Go for No change over the years, just with technology. I mean, applying this to social media, applying this to emailing and texting and all of the things that we do. Ultimately, it's about following up with people who have said no, reaching out and inviting people, whether it's inviting them to a presentation or inviting them to watch a video or whatever. It's ask, ask, ask. And I wrote about this in a newsletter I just did about a couple young girls, students that I got to meet at a women's event that I spoke at a couple weeks ago, and their teacher was giving them a rejection challenge, and they were going to have to go out and get 10 no's, and one of them told me she was terrified of even emailing somebody for fear of the rejection. So I know that, I think even with this next generation coming up, the millennials with their technology, still even emailing or texting can be really a scary challenge for people.
Wow. Amazing. Mani, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so true. I wanted to bring up something actually that you said, Robin, when you were talking about, I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball in here, Andrea. I hope that's okay.
I love curveballs.
You talked about the attachment and not having an attachment, and that was one of the biggest things I learned, was to not have an attachment to either yes or no. Because when I had too much attachment to yes, would get too high, and then the no's would bring me down too low, and so on, and just understood that it was just a part of doing business. But in some cases, Andrea, no is the answer. And, how do you tell people to be okay with that? Because sometimes it's just not a good fit, and it may not ever be a good fit. And that's okay. How do you help people get to understanding that even though this may be a no, and it might even be a no that remains a no, to continue to overcome that and keep going?
That's a great question, great question. Well, you've got to value the no's that really are a no, never. And the answer to how you do that, and what I have learned over the years is, my no, never saved me a lot of time and a lot of thinking that I'm making a lot of progress and have people interested when really they're not. We say, no is a perfectly acceptable answer. And the reality is this kind of comes into almost a disqualification process. I think with network marketing and direct sales, it's a little bit different because I think a lot of times people think that it's no, never, but then the circumstances change in their life and actually the job's gone or something happened and they want that second income or what have you. And so sometimes it's a little different. But to give you a perfect example about no, never, if I called both of you and I said, I'm a speaker and do you two have conferences where you bring people in to speak, and you said, no, we don't have conferences, we don't put anything on like that, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to call you next week and see if that's changed. Well, if it's not even a need. You know what I'm saying? It's like it would be like selling my husband Richard, a great shampoo. He doesn't need it. He has almost no hair left. So it's just sometimes there's no need there for that particular thing. So really, instead of wasting my time and wasting your time and calling you back every couple of weeks, conference, you guys got a conference planned? It's great. I got a serious no. And it's a never. Are you ever going to have a conference? If you guys said no, it's a never. So that's part of, in I guess traditional selling, that disqualification process. So now the question for I think networkers really is, when do you finally take someone off? And I think sometimes we can get into a position where we hang on too long. On the other hand, is there a way to be organized in such a way that, you put that person into the no-never category and you have the ability to check in with them, a long time later just to see if anything's changed. The funny thing is, half the time that person's probably joined a business or done something, when they said it was like, I thought it was no, never. What are you doing? That's kind of the funny thing. So I think what the important lesson here, though, Mani, is to dovetail into what you were asking, is to not feel like you've got to hang on to those no's and somehow that getting that is a bad thing. Oftentimes it just frees you up so that you can go after those people who do have more of an interest and are probably more likely to say yes, make a change, do business with you sooner than later, as opposed to just having all of your eggs in that no-never basket. So it's an interesting balance. And again, a lot of times it depends on that relationship, and if you want to stay in contact with that person, obviously you're going to. If it's somebody that maybe is a kind of a friend, kind of somebody that maybe they're friends with you on Facebook, whatever. So it's not that you'll never talk to that person ever again. It's just that maybe you just are not going to bring that up, and they're not in your funnel, so to speak, of people that you want to stay in touch with and really continue building and growing that relationship, so that they, if they're a person who looks like they might be interested within the next couple months, those are really the people that you want to stay connected to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that, and I totally agree with you on that. I was just thinking about what you were saying, and I was thinking about the fact that whenever I build a business, I always seek to make a new friend, and see, because there are some people that just aren't networkers, and that's okay, but it doesn't mean that they can't add value, and it also doesn't mean that they won't know someone who is, and then refer them to you, at a later date. I think all of us have experienced that, to have happened at one point or another. And then, of course, at other times they might end up being ready. And so I love the way you answered that question, because, I had someone ask me that, and I know it wasn't on our list, but I said, I'll see if we can find some room to kind of toss that one in there, because it was, well, how do I know when to give it up, and how do I know when to just let it go and to not keep going for no?
Yeah. I think the answer always is, don't be afraid to let it go. It oftentimes but keep the relationship open. But it allows you to focus on other opportunities.
Great. Love it, love it, love it, love it. I just, what happened to me, and I'm listening and going, we're going for no, we're going for yes, but what I learned in our business model is that's the maybes that'll kill you. Those people that sit on that fence. Do you share with your audiences about that? Because, and I have another question behind that, but let me start with that one.
That is a great question. Oh my gosh, yes, the maybes, and I'm kind of interested. Call me next week. Yeah, are real challenges. And one of the things that people have asked me, and it's gotten to the point where I actually think this is a great response, is giving people permission to tell you no, so that, again, kind of what Monty just brought up, we can save ourselves time and save them time. It's not, we are trying to build a business here too, and so let's all respect each other's time. At that point, when you get all those maybes, it's a great time to say, what, we've been kind of playing phone tag and talking about this thing for the last few weeks, the last few months, whatever. I want you to know that no is perfectly fine. Like, if it's just a no, I am totally good with that. I don't want to keep bothering you, and I certainly don't want you to feel like you have to avoid me. And believe me, I've got a lot of people that I'm interested in talking to, so you don't have to feel like you're hurting my feelings. Giving people permission to tell you no, I think it's very freeing for everybody. Funny thing is, a lot of people, and again, you're still in the same position, they'll say, oh, no, it is maybe, but it is maybe. So you're still right there. But at least you've told them, hey, I just want, let's do this or not do this, let's figure this thing out. And it is kind of a funny thing. A lot of people, you do have to give them that permission. But when you do, you become so attractive, because you're not saying, listen, I need you to sign up. I need you to sign up by tomorrow. Let's, it's actually tell me no instead of tell me yes. And so people get attracted to that, and they actually feel a little bit of sense of, instead of pressure, a sense of loss. This person's pulling away the opportunity, not pushing it on me. So it's an interesting phenomenon, and it really puts you in the driver's seat. And if they do say no, then great. That's great. Celebrate that. Have a great reaction. Have them feel good that they got rid of you and they don't have to worry about you. And quite frankly, the next time they do see you, there is no animosity. There's no weirdness. There's no awkwardness. You parted ways nicely. And like Monty said, the next time that somebody that maybe there is an opportunity, they're going to feel like when they refer somebody to you, that you're someone who they feel good about other people dealing with, that you're not that pressure, I need the yes, I need the yes, I need the answer person. So I think ultimately it builds that relationship.
Thank you so much for that, because it is You know, we always boil down to relationships, and we want people to feel good in our presence. And it does take courage to say to people, it's okay to say no. Matter of fact, I would much prefer if, you know, this is not the right fit for you, out of respect of your time and mine, really. And, you know, if you want me to get back to you, I'd be happy to call you back in a month or two if that works for you. If not, that's fine too. But giving people that space, and it's, I used to talk about, well, not used to, I talk about the potato chip theory. You know, you give people a few potato chips, they want more, but if you give them too much or you're too, you know, on them, you know, they just kind of back up. And we want people to enjoy being in our presence, not want to, you know, disappear when they see us. So I love that approach. That's so wonderful. And it does take courage, and we're going to keep using that word courage, 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 because it is a key to all of this. So moving into, you know, working, many of us on this call have teams. Some of us have larger teams than others. And when we embrace this, how do we help people get to that aha? I mean, it happened to me instantly when I heard you. I got it really fast, but I know everyone doesn't. And how could we be supportive to people in our business to really embrace the go for no philosophy, Andrea?
Well, there's no easy answer for that, Robin, but I like the question. I do. I think from a leader standpoint is, you know, teaching people the philosophy and really celebrating and kind of celebrating their activity and celebrating their no's, not just their yeses. One of my favorite stories was a lady that I know who is actually the daughter of a very world-famous sales speaker and trainer. She and he loved the book, and he shared it with her, and she had a direct sales team. She got together with someone on her team and told this young woman that they were going to make some calls and that their goal was to get 5 no's. And she said, Jenny was her name, Jenny said, my person on my team, and I can't remember her name, she said, we're going to get 5 no's. That seems a little crazy, because normally when we make calls together, you know, we're trying to get an appointment. And Jenny said, yeah, we're not doing that. Let's just try to get 5 no's. So they make the first call, they get a no. They make the second call, they get a no. They make the third call, they get a yes. And her team member is all excited. And Jenny said, yeah. No, I know that you're excited about that yes, but we're not. Remember, we're here to get, so just calm down. We don't really care. Let's get the, and so this is really the reprogramming process. So Jenny said, let's make another call. She said that by the end of it, you know, they got their 5 no's, but they had more fun than they ever had before. She said normally if they'd gotten a couple no's, they just would have kind of said, okay, we're done. Let's do something else. Let's do some training on product or what have you. That they had more fun, and that was the moment where she changed this person's mind, you know, in terms of what, you know, what their function was. So I think role playing like that, helping people in training sessions, doing those kinds of things are really powerful, and being that leader. And the funny thing is, when Rich and I used to do management seminars, there's a saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? We've all heard that saying before. The trick is, you, as a leader, sometimes you have to lead your people to water, and sometimes you have to force them to drink. And it's hard sometimes, but you have to show them the philosophy and kind of force them to try it sometimes, so that they see that I survived getting a no. I can do this. It's an interesting philosophy. So it's always a challenge as a leader to teach this to people and to get them to open their eyes. But great leaders drag people kicking and screaming oftentimes to the edge to see how good they can be, rather, just like Harold did with Richard, you know, hey, Rich, your fear of no is going to kill you. You've got to get over this, you know. That's what great leaders do, is they kind of force people to look at themselves and to get better.
I thank you so much for that. And that first story, I think, is a wonderful way to work with people. Is make it fun, do it together. And I think for a lot of people, you know, the magic of the three-way call, getting on calls together and having fun with it, and when one person has that non-attachment, it actually can help the other one get there too and go, well, that didn't hurt so bad. I could do that. And so a great leader will take people to places they've never been before. And some of us naturally have courage, and some of us have to build it. And I just think it would be fun, Andrea, for you to share your little story of how you were when you were little and what you did. I think just for fun it would be a great thing.
Okay, well, so what happened was I had this ridiculous notion at the age of, I think I was 8, that I would be a great associate director working alongside George Lucas. I had all these movie ideas. I would roll around with my typewriter and be typing movie concepts and titles and things. So I thought for sure he would want to work with me. So one night, this guy was at our house, and I don't know how the conversation came about, but it was said that it was discovered that he knew George Lucas and had his personal private telephone number, at which point I was like, I need the number, I'm going to call him, I'm going to propose that we work together, how could he possibly, you know, deny me and all of this. So the next day, I guess, and it's so vague in my memory, but I guess I called and got the secretary, and she would not put me through. I called again and could not get through. I was eventually just told to go to the fan club, you know, to sign up for the fan club, which I did. But the funny part about all of this was, so I did get my no, I guess, a couple of them. I thought that I had hung up and calmly moved on with my day. My mom told me, she said, do you remember what happened afterwards? And I said, no. And she goes, well, you threw the biggest fit you've ever thrown in your entire life. You were screaming and crying, and just your world had completely ended. So the irony that I teach people to actually embrace no, relax when you get a no, celebrate it, let it roll off your back, apparently is, I guess I've come full circle. It's literally my karma. It's what I'm meant to do, because my reaction when I was young was so horrible. I had the worst reaction to a rejection ever in history.
I love it. And I think that's really healthy for everyone to know, is that look where Andrea is today and look where she came from. I mean, she was 8 and she had the courage to pick up the phone and call George Lucas. And how many people, and she wanted to create a to do movies, and she's created a documentary, and she's created 8 books, and look what's happened because she had the courage. And so I know that you guys talk about courage being one of the most important virtues. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things that we used to teach quite a bit early in our sales and management careers, when we first launched our company teaching these philosophies, is we would always talk about the courage of a lion. And one of the analogies that we would always give to salespeople is that they needed to be a lion. And we used that symbol because when you think about all of the animals in the animal kingdom, and whether there's cheetahs and tigers and baboons and everything, the lion is the perfect symbol of courage. And you think about the Wizard of Oz and the Cowardly Lion, who had the courage in him all the time. He goes searching for it. The Scarecrow's searching for a brain. Everybody has everything they are looking for. Dorothy just needs to click her heels and she goes home. And that really, I think, is so true when it comes to courage, is we have it in us. Just a lot of times we're so consumed, especially as adults, with how we look to other people, with that failure, or that interpretation even of failure, what people will think of us, what our friends and family will say, and that becomes more important than just trying to live our dreams, trying to do something different, interesting, spectacular, you know, the courage is there within everybody. It just gets, I think, stuffed down with all of those other things. That's why, and sometimes I think that this whole failure model, you know, I like to start talking about this idea of the failure success. It seems on the surface very kind of like, yeah, I get it, failure, success, embrace failure. Yes, but the reason that you embrace the failure is because when you do that and you accept that you could fail and that it's okay to fail, and quite often you will fail as part of the process, then the courage can come out so much easier, because previous to that, when you're just concerned about failure, you stuff your courage down. So adopting that willingness and wantingness to fail, and we talk about that in the book, the wantingness to fail, is so important, because I think that is how you tap into your courage. I think that is the way to do it. You know, everybody says, oh, the only way to get your courage is to act, and that's so true, to take action. And yet ultimately, again, that feels cliche to me. That feels like, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, it means that you have to change how you view failure, that you actually have to understand that you're going to fall on your face. And Lord knows I've done it, and Richard and I have done it in our business over the years, trying to do great work and to do great things. That, I think, allows you to tap into that courage, is embracing failure.
Wow.
That's awesome. You know, I took so much out of what you just said there, Andrea. It was huge. I mean, and I was thinking about when you were talking about the lion, and you know how that's like the symbol of courage. And it's so funny that you say that. And then, like, every time we do one of these shows, there's something that one of our guests says, and it just speaks to me on a different level, right? And so I've always had a special connection to the Lioness. And so, you know, especially when I'm feeling a little bit, you know, maybe a little uncertain, or, you know, and I'll just say, okay, Lioness arise, Lioness arise. And I'll have to kind of pump myself up, you know, with that. And so we went to the zoo with our family this weekend, and the Lioness was there, and I'm like, oh, look at her, she was majestic, but she was asleep. And I looked and I said, wake up, Lioness. If you wake up, I'll know that you and I are connected. That's my courage right there. So I thought that was really cool that you shared that. And she woke up. She woke up and looked right at me, and I snapped a picture, and I'm like, yeah, you know. So it was really, really cool. So, you know, Go for No is such a beautiful strategy and a beautiful way of looking at life and that path and the journey to success, because for those of us who have achieved, you know, and are even on our road to achieving greatness, failure happens. It's just a part of it. And we have to shift our relationship as it relates to being a good networker, or even in other areas, you know, of your life.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with you about that. And, you know, it's one of those things where we're so good at it as kids. And I always say that, you know, I don't give myself too much credit at the age of 8. Like, Robin loves to give me credit for that. But, you know, we have that tenacity. We're willing to learn how to ride a bike and make a fool out of ourselves. We're willing to do all of these things, tie our shoes, and we don't care who sees us, and we're learning. And somehow as adults, though, we don't give ourselves permission to fail. It's all of a sudden like, oh, no, you've got to have all the answers. Yeah. When we're doing something new, especially in a new business, we don't have all the answers. There's training and there's experience and, you know, all of that. And yet we don't, it's all, as corny as it sounds, you got to reparent yourself and say, no, you're going to fail, and it's expected and it's good, and learn from it, you know. Even as kids, sometimes we make the same mistake over. Learn from it, do your best, and don't be so hard on yourself. You know, we put all this pressure, again, I think I mentioned earlier about just some personalities with the perfectionism. Oh, I'm not going to do this until all the timing is right, the stars are aligned, everything's perfect, my children are exactly where I want them, my husband's doing what I want, you know, everything's perfect, I've got everything. Well, life's never perfect. There's always something messy, and if it's not made, it'll be messy tomorrow. So we got to get that perfectionism, I think, makes me crazy because it holds people back.
Love it, love it, love it. And as leaders, I think showing people how imperfect we are and showing our failures and sharing them, and so people go, wow, they failed too, and they're, look at how they're doing. So I think that's such a wonderful direction to go, is to be transparent with the journey, and not just, I think so often on stages all these successes are shared, and I think for people to really share some of the other side of how many no's it took and what it took to pull up the bootstraps and the courage. I love the Lioness, Monty. That's so wonderful.
I know, I do too.
That's good for us. That's great. So now, Andrea, what do you suggest for us on how we can actually implement these ideas like now? Mm-hmm. So we can start, transforming our relationship with fear, rejection, with the word no, and really realize what a great friend it is for us.
I love that, the way that you put that. So implementation immediately is just to create a no awareness. That's what I always say, is create that no awareness, kind of see where you are in your interpretation, if you will. Sometimes people have come up to us after we've spoken somewhere, and I had a couple people say, oh, no doesn't bother me at all. I can hear no all day long, doesn't bother me. So, having that awareness is really great. Now, some people say, I don't like no at all. So having that awareness and seeing, where am I on a 1 to 10 scale, and starting to then build your courage by testing out and setting a no goal and saying, I'm gonna tomorrow just get one no, and it doesn't have to be crazy. And sometimes we have people who say, oh, I get it, I'm gonna get 100 no's tomorrow, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's a lot. It's gonna take you all day and all night. And I love that enthusiasm. There's nothing wrong with that. And people do that all the time. But I say, at whatever speed you want, take it easy on yourself. Just try it out. Get that one no. Celebrate that you survived. That you see what you learned, and just keep doing a little bit each day and a little bit each day, and that's really the way to kind of implement this. And then you can start doing a challenge. You can do a 30-day challenge, and I do those every now and then. I have a private Facebook page with almost 1,000 people in it, where I'll do a 30-day challenge, and we'll get everybody talking about it and just upping their activity. And it's really exciting to see people's emotions change around it, their results change around it. But I really like the emotions. I like that people are having fun. It's a fun business. The whole idea of a networking business: be free, have options, have choices. Well, let's have fun too. Let's not forget about that.
Love that. I love that. And that's the thing about this business, is I love to have fun with it. And, I just don't do well with things that I'm not enjoying. And this here, Angie, I can speak to myself personally. Reading this, I honestly, I cried when I read it, because it was one of those things that it was freeing, it was liberating, and it was like, it allowed me to exhale, because I had put so much pressure, on myself when it came to succeeding. And I set the bar really, really high. And just the story and the way it came full circle, I had no idea it was recommended to me. And I remember when I first looked at it, and I'm like, oh, okay, go for no. Yeah, we'll see. I kind of had the same reaction that Robin did. And I'm like, I don't like no. No didn't feel good to me until I read that book. And then after that, it was like, I told everybody about it, and then I let one young lady borrow. Awesome about what you do. So with that being said, you and your husband have programs, that you are sharing, and obviously around Go for No. Tell our audience about some of those.
Probably the best thing that we have created is something called the Go for No Breakthrough Pack. It's got all of our best stuff. It's got our DVD movie. It's got our 3 CD training program, where we together in the studio, we go through 20 core Go for No concepts, back and forth, sharing strategies. Richard is kind of the numbers person of the two of us. I'm the emotions person, And we also created an interesting CD called Reprogram How You Think About Rejection, Reprogram How You Think About No, which is actually an affirmation CD set to music, which is kind of different. Different types of affirmations about courage and failure and sales and all of that kind of stuff. So we offer that on our website, the Breakthrough Pack. So you can certainly buy that by all means. I would just love people to come to goforno.com, check it out, read the blogs, watch the videos. We have a free no quotient assessment. So there's no way that you can't learn this concept for free. And then if you want to go even deeper, you can buy the book, you can buy the training for sure.
That's phenomenal. What do you have to share about that, Robin?
I'd say just do it.
Absolutely.
I just know that, back to my first experience with Andrea, that has literally been a paradigm changer for me. And I remember the top income earner from a company I was with stood up on stage. She goes, "The reason I'm here and you're there is I've heard no more often." Mm-hmm. And between what Andrea says and that, I went, okay, that relationship with no is one of the most important things to be successful in not just our business, but in our lives. And some of the greatest people in history, they had something, that inner commitment and devotion and passion to make something work, whether it's the light bulb or the presidency or whatever it may be. And they just failure was not an option. I've got that little mug on my desk, And so how many times it takes, we don't know, but the relationship, and I love it, the 30-day challenge. So I think people should go to your Facebook page. So is it Go for No on Facebook? Is that how?
Facebook, yeah, Go for No.
Okay, so people go to Go for No, and I know we're just winding up here. So I don't know, Andrea, if you want to shift and share about your new journey. Are you ready to go public with it and share with people?
Yeah.
All right.
So, well, this is totally different. This is wild and crazy. This is Rich and I taking our own advice and putting ourselves out there. So, Manny, what we're doing is we're writing a series of books. Actually, it's a paranormal suspense series, but not just paranormal suspense for the sake of just being a fiction book. Ultimately, there's a motivational message about how precious life is, about living your life to the fullest, not letting fear stop you, doing what you love, having a purpose. It's kind of, those messages are deeply embedded. So we've got a Kickstarter campaign that we're doing around it starting in October, which ends on Halloween. It's really fun. It'll be very interesting. And as part of even that book launch, we're going to be teaching people how they can write and publish and market their own best-selling book, because it's all knowledge that's in our head that we've done this so many times and with different books, and so we're ready to kind of share that knowledge as well. So interestingly, though, we kind of joke, Richard is writing this series. I'm his co-author, his editor. I still share Go for No. I probably share something on Go for No every day. It is my passion. It'll probably never stop. I'll be 83 and talking about Go for No because I love it. So, but that is our new direction.
Well, thank you for the courage to go in a new direction, and I know you guys have a huge following and fan club. So if someone wants to get involved in your Kickstarter campaign, how would they do that?
You know what? We will mention it on Go for No. We're going to be mentioning it everywhere. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to personally give you a huge thank you for taking the time to be with us and share this message that is life-changing. So for those of you that are watching, listening, and have yet to embrace the Go for No philosophy, it is a game changer, a life changer, and Andrea is an amazing model of it. I'm so grateful. So Mani, you want to close it up?
Sure, absolutely. Well, Andrea, of course, thank you so much for being here. It was an honor. It's just kind of one of those things when Robin said that she could book you on the show, and you said yes. I was personally very excited, but we also saw so many people that were excited and have been touched by your work. So thank you so much for being here. And for all of you who are listening live, thank you. And those of you who are listening to the recording, thank you. Be sure to share this message and spread it with your teams, because it can help you regardless of what business that you're in. And make sure that you connect with us on our Facebook group, Wise Women Weekly, presented by Enlightened Networking. We'd love to have you join us there. We'll keep you up to date on who's coming next. And believe me, we've got some incredible guests lined up for a long time to come. We want you to continue to be here. This is our heart to yours, here to serve the networking profession from the softer side. We'll see you guys next Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks again, ladies.
Thank you. It was so much fun.